lately, the Ghana Revenue Authority has been on the streets asking the public to be filing their returns, paying income taxes and other taxes, and then registering with the GRA, and also making honest disclosures to the authority. Is that all? Does the government has any kind of arrangement to cushion the taxpayers in terms of the tax exposures? In other jurisdictions, we are aware that the residents file their tax returns and then get a relief or a rebate back. Is it the same in our country? Today, your favorite program, Time with the Tax Law, will discuss the issues that relate to personal income tax reliefs. Stay tuned. To discuss the issues with me today, I have on my left Mr. Joseph Fiado, who is an adjunct tax lecturer, a chartered accountant, and a renowned tax auditor. Mr. Fiado, you are welcome.
Thank you, Eric.
On my right is Mr. Charles Jua, a chartered accountant, a renowned tax auditor, and a member of the Chartered Institute of Taxation Ghana. Charles, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Your favorite program, Time with the Tax Law, is held on is aired on the GRA TV, and today's discussion, as I've already said, is on income tax reliefs that relate to individuals, resident individuals. To start with, Mr. Fedo, income tax is payable by each individual for each year of assessment by a resident person who has a chargeable income. Can you tell the public what a chargeable income is?
Under the Income Tax Act 2015 Act 896, the law actually recognizes three streams of assessable income. That is income from business, income from investment, and income from employment. So an individual could earn income from business, employment, or investment. But the question focuses on the income of an individual. An individual's income from employment is that individual's gains and profit from employment, less any relief or deductions granted under the law.
Okay, so does this relate to a particular year?
Yes, it does. That is the government calendar year.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me come to Charles. Charles, so when is this government calendar year? Is it the same as the year of assessment? If not, what is the difference? What is the year of assessment?
Thank you very much. So for individuals, as we are talking about, the year of assessment is the same as the calendar year, that is from January to December, as opposed to that of businesses, which could vary in terms of their basis period or their accounting year.
When you say business, are you referring to a corporate organization, that is a limited liability company? Because business, as I know, it could be an individual's own enterprise, and that is a business as well. Can you make the distinction? Can you come clear on that?
So we are talking about corporate entities.
Okay.
Yes, who are limited liability companies, okay, who have their accounting period. That may be different from the government, government accounting year. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, from what you said, Joe, we have income from employment, income from business, and income from investment, right? Are there exclusions? I mean, when you say income from employment, I want you to take income from employment, and then Charles, you take income from business and investment, and then you tell us what they are and whether there are exclusions. So Joseph, what is income from business, and are there exclusions?
Yes, income from business, there are exclusions. In fact, when one takes a look at the law, specifically Section 7, it's been provided there that the streams of incomes or gains listed under Section 7 are excluded from tax. But
So
then when it comes to business,
Okay, so what we're saying is that the Section 7 generally looks at exemptions.
exemptions.
So it means that every exclusion. But I wanted us to look at Section 6,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
6 is investment.
Yeah.
Section 5 rather. I want us to look at 5.
business.
5 looks at business,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So Section 5 of the Income Tax Act at 896 looks
Yeah.
at business.
Yes.
What does it say? I mean, how do I understand business income? What does the Section 5 say? Before we even come to the Section 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Section 5 says that the accessible income under business is the gains and profit from business.
Okay.
And the gains and profit from business, for one to pay tax on sale, one is allowed deductions under the law subject to Section 8 and Section 9. So you are looking at deductions like capital allowance, you are looking at one's expenses that are wholly, necessarily, and exclusively incurred in generating or producing income. Okay?
So essentially what we're saying is that when it
Yeah.
comes to the definition
Yeah.
of business income
Yeah.
under the Income Tax Act, Section 5,
Yes.
it's exclusively income from business,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So what I wanted to understand is that
Yeah.
when you say income from business, you are looking at revenue, right?
Yes.
From business, and then maybe realization of business assets,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Because it's exclusively for business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So anything business,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, but
Okay,
we can go into the details of that.
No, not necessarily. We
Alright.
want to give Charles opportunity to also address the issue of. I want you to go to investment before you come to employment.
Okay.
I mean, for a very good reason.
Yes.
So, in this sense, we are moving to Section 6 of the Income Tax Act 896 before you come to Section 4.
Yeah.
What is investment income?
Okay, thank you. So investment income are gains and profits that is an individual or person gets from conducting an investment, i.e. Income that are earned from dividend, interest, annuity, and all those other ones.
Okay.
So these are the investment income.
Okay, so as drawn from the word investment. So if I have some property lying somewhere, I don't really have a day-to-day, encounter with, and it's yielding returns. It's bringing results. So if I have a property in Takrady, right, and then rent it out, whatever comes out by way of rent could be described as an investment income. Is that correct?
Sure.
That's
So far as that particular property is not being used for business, that activity is not your main business that you are in.
So there seems to be a thin line between investment income and business income.
Sure. Because because an activity, just as you portrayed, you could have somebody who has a building, a number of them, and that is his income. That's what he does.
Real estate.
Every day.
Yeah.
So you realize that this is a continuous activity that person performs. In that case, the person is now moving from investment into it being business.
Okay.
Now we could have a situation where, as an employee, I'm here. Okay, my regular activity is to be in employment, but I happen to have just one building sitting somewhere that is giving me some rent. In that case, that will be considered as an
so
investment.
that is not continuous
That is
per
not-
se.
that is-
That's interesting. Okay, so let's come back home to our issue of the day, employment income. Yes, in respect of an individual.
So
What is an employment income?
yeah, employment income is the gains and profit that an individual derives from employment. And as we know, once you get employed, there are certain gains, i.e. salaries, bonuses, allowances, In fact, every cash allowance that one earns or is connected to an employment is an income or gain that the person gets from employment. Most of the time, you realize that there are certain allowances that people might even consider that, oh, this one is not part of it. Let me stress a little bit on that, especially what they consider as welfare. Okay, so you go to the public and they tell you, oh, this one, I got it and it's welfare. What is welfare? Welfare is part of allowances that a person gets in connection with an employment. So they are all part of employment income.
So are there any benefits that an employee gets from the employment which is not considered as an employment income?
Yes.
Let's say exclusions.
Exclusions,
Yeah.
yes.
Are there any?
There are.
Yeah, but can you share them with us?
Yes, there are a number of incomes that one gets that is not considered. Number one is pension. Okay. Under the law, as Section 7, as my brother earlier on said, pensions are exempt. These are incomes that come to an individual, but specifically they are exempted from the law. We also have redundancy payment that is made to an individual is also exempted from the law. Then
what about medical? If my employer sends me to a hospital when I'm not well, it's a benefit to me in the
Medical,
yes. Is it also taxable? Are you going to tax me on that benefit?
It is not taxable to the extent that this benefit is available to every person in the organization. Okay. On equal terms, as the law has said and clarified under the practice note issued by the Commissioner General, to put it at equivalent level. So if it's available to everybody, then it becomes exempt.
Yeah, you mentioned employment benefit and gains. So what if they give me lunch every day? Every day they give me lunch. It's a benefit.
It's a benefit.
Is it also taxable?
Yes. Again, to the extent that it is going to be difficult assigning values as to how much. I mean, I go for lunch and I take one full plate. Another person comes and take half. How are you going to be able to assign values to those things? So the law specifically makes room for a situation where it is quite impracticable, administratively impossible for you to be able to assign value on these benefits. So to that extent, the law also exempts said benefits.
So do I then move with the understanding that if I have any benefit which is in kind, it's not taxable? Is that what you're saying?
No, please.
Okay, so what you have said is that there are benefits, employment benefits and gains that are in kind but yet taxable.
Sure.
And then we have cash which are also taxable.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. Okay, let me come to you, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, is there any distinction between personal income and corporate income?
Yes.
So, what is a personal income in the eye of the Income Tax Act, and what is the corporate income? And if there are any distinctions, can you share them with us?
Corporate income under the tax law is the income earned by the entity itself, the corporate body. That is the corporate body engaging in either business or investment. But an individual could earn an income from that same corporate entity by way of salaries, wages, and other allowances. An individual could also do business and earn income from the same business.
And from extension, an individual can also engage in an investment activity, right? So right. The three sources of taxable income are applicable to the individual by way of employment, business, and investment. And the three sources are not applicable to the corporate or limited liability company, from what you have said. It means that business income is applicable in the case of a corporate entity. Investment income, but employment is an individual thing, right? That's what I said. So what it means is that a limited liability company cannot be taxed on an employment income. Is that correct?
That's right.
But what does Section 114 of the Income Tax Act say? Because I'm aware that it brings the employer close to the employee in terms of taxing of their remuneration. And you have said that the corporate entity is not taxable under PAYE. Can you clarify? Let's clarify, especially looking at the rendition under Section 114, that makes the employer the withholding agent to take PAYE, pay as you earn taxes from the salaries and remunerations of the employee.
Okay. The Section 114 empowers the employer or the entity to withhold tax from the payment of salaries and allowances to employees.
So what he calls the gains and profits of employment.
Of employment.
Except the exclusions, those that are not taxable. Okay,
except the exclusions. However, if the corporate entity fails in carrying out that responsibility under the Act, the Ghana Revenue Authority has every right to levy same or recoup the tax that should have been withheld from the employee's salary, or what we call PAYE, on monthly basis. That is why the Ghana Revenue Authority auditors go out to audit and raise assessments sometimes for corporate entities in respect of PAYE, not because the corporate entity is required to pay PAYE.
Pay the tax burden itself.
Yes.
But the onus, the responsibility of withholding the tax is shifted to you.
Yes.
And you cannot
have recourse to the employee or ask the employee to pay same to you if you fail to withhold.
Okay. So is it the same for an individual who runs an enterprise, right?
Yeah.
And employs or engages employees? So you are not registered or you are not incorporated as a limited liability company, Charles, right? But you are operating as an individual, but you have employees. What Joe has espoused, does it apply to the individual as well?
Yes, so far as it's respect to employment, and you have employees, you are required, as you rightly said, to withhold from these employees and pay same to the Ghana Revenue Authority. The focus it's not you. The focus is on the employees.
Okay.
But we've given you that obligation or the responsibility to withhold from them and return same to the Ghana Revenue Authority.
Okay, that's fine. So before we come to the income tax itself, we need to stop at the chargeable income. Is the chargeable income of the individual different from the chargeable income of a limited liability company, Charles?
Sure, it's different to the extent that, as you earlier on alluded to, for an individual, you could have 3 streams of accessible income coming through, respect of employment, respect to investment, and respect to even business. So these things will have to be brought together.
And taxed differently?
And for an individual, we will need to assess these streams differently, but ultimately,
that is at the level of an accessible income.
At the level of an accessible income.
And then you add them.
You will have to add them at some point in time and now apply whatever rates that the law has.
No, before you apply the rates, I'm interested in what you're saying. The individual has to honestly disclose their employment income, right?
Sure.
Disclose their business income, and then disclose their investment income at this point. At this point, you realize that all the 3 would have to come together they will now lose their colors, right? Yeah. And in that bowl, the individual is now or now has the right to take off what the law allows them to take off before you move to their chargeable income.
Sure.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, that's fine. That's well understood. So can you say same of the corporate income?
So for the corporate income as well, to arrive at the chargeable income from the accessible income, the law again has given room for certain deductions to be made, i.e. Deduction on depreciation allowance, We also have other deduction that is wholly and necessarily used in generating the income that we are assessing. So the law says make all these deductions, and whatever is left then becomes your chargeable income for which the tax is levied on.
Okay, thank you very much. Cherished viewers and listeners, all too soon we have come to the first segment of this discussion. We'll be going for a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Madam.
Akwesi, not today. No time for jokes, eh? I need to get to GRA to pay my tax before the deadline.
Oh. Auntie Akos, relax. Listen, GRA has stopped accepting checks and cash payments at their offices. GRA has gone cashless.
Cashless?
Yes.
Hey, then how do I pay?
Give me your phone, I'll show you.
The Ghana Revenue Authority has gone cashless. Now you can pay your taxes and duties to GRA online at www.ghana.gov.gh, or for mobile money payments, dial *222# on all networks, or simply pay at the bank.
Oh, thank you, Akwesi. Oh, you've saved me.
GRA, our taxes, our future.
Paying your taxes and duties have become much easier. You can now pay through these participating banks on ghana.gov. Visit gra.gov.gh for more information. Ghana Revenue Authority, our taxes, our future.
You're welcome back, cherished viewers and listeners. Your favorite program, Time with the Tax Law. Today we are looking at the issue of personal income tax reliefs. As I've already said, with me to discuss the topic, Joseph Fiajo and Charles Jua, both renowned tax practitioners working with the Ghana Revenue Authority. Yes, to go straight to the point, personal income tax reliefs. Let me start with you, Charles. What are personal tax reliefs? When we say personal tax reliefs, what are they?
Thank you very much. So these are, I would say, rebates or reliefs that government has come out with in order to lessen the tax burden.
Is there a new thing? When you say it has come out, is there a new thing?
So it's not a new
no,
thing.
No, just to
yes,
yeah.
It's not a new thing, but it's more of a policy decision to lessen the incidence of tax on individuals or to reduce their tax liability.
Okay.
So that is the reliefs that government or is embedded in the tax laws.
Okay, thank you very much. So what you have said, if I got it right, is that it is an amount which is paid, or it is a figure which is taken off your taxable income so that your tax liability otherwise would have been lower.
All right.
Can you clarify that?
Yeah, thank you very much. So this is an amount that is taken off from your chargeable income. You know, earlier on we spoke about chargeable income. So these are amounts that are taken out from your chargeable income before the appropriate rates are applied to the chargeable income.
Okay. So, cherished viewers and listeners, before we went on break, we discussed chargeable income. In a pedestrian sense, chargeable income is the let's say the taxable income. Your gross income and all the treatment, they comes to what we call chargeable income, upon which the tax rate is applied. Now, what Charles has said is that the chargeable income will be subjected to some further reliefs. Is that it?
Sure.
And that relief will even reduce your chargeable income so that the tax rate will be applied on, and then that will affect the tax which otherwise you would have paid. Thank you. Joseph, what are some of these reliefs? Can you mention a few? And I'll prefer that when you mention the relief, you state how much how much goes with it, just as Charles mentioned. Yeah.
Okay. We have a number of reliefs under the law. We have marriage or responsibility relief, which is 200 per annum or 200 per assessment year, 200
What is it? I wanted to ask whether it's
200 Ghana per assessment year.
Okay.
We have disability relief, which is 25% of the assessable income of the individual. We have child education relief, which is up to 3 children and 1,000 per child. We also have old aged relief. We have aged dependent.
The old age relief, how much is it?
Oh, it's 1,000.
Okay. So fine. So you've given us 4 at the moment, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Charles, would you want to add anything?
Yes, we do have cost of training relief.
I think you barely mentioned age dependent relief. Did you mention that?
Yes,
Okay.
dependent.
So you've given us 5.
Yes.
Okay, so Charles, you take it out from there.
Okay, so let me cost of training relief that is given to taxpayers who are in employment and want to upgrade their skill.
Okay, that's fine.
In a profession.
That's fine. How much is that?
It's up to 2,000 Ghana cedis per annum.
That's huge.
That's huge. That's huge.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, and which other relief?
And we also have the marginal relief, which is embedded within the graduated rate.
Okay, that is the individual tax relief.
Yes. So you realize that in the individual graduated rate, there is a portion of the income that is tax-free.
Okay.
So that is a relief given to a person, and that's for a year is currently is 3,828 Ghana cedi, or if you want to take it on a monthly basis, that is 319 Ghana cedis per month.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And what other relief?
Yeah, we do also have the mortgage
Okay.
interest relief that has also come up. Previously it wasn't in the realm of the reliefs as mentioned in the section 51.
And then the 5th schedule. Of the Act 896. Okay, that's fine.
But now pursuant to the Schedule 6 and also a decided case, it has also become one of the reliefs that is also taken by individuals.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you very much. Joe, you want to say something? Okay, go ahead.
I think the old aged relief, I think I mentioned 1,000. It should be 200.
Okay.
So in the case of an individual who is 60 years of age and above, that individual is entitled to a personal relief of 200 currency points.
Okay, that's fine. We'll come to the fine details, but before then, we'll come to the fine details. But before then, let me ask: are employees, just as we have already discussed, are employees the only persons eligible for the personal income tax reliefs? Joe?
No.
Okay, please go ahead.
Employees are not the only persons that are entitled to relief under the law. Individuals who engage in businesses, because as you know, under the law, when an individual is being assessed at the end of the year, the individual is subjected to the graduated rate, just like any other employee. But that individual is entitled to relief.
Okay.
One is the Social Security and National Insurance Trust relief.
Okay, that's fine. So is that okay? Well, of course, when you look at the rendition under Section 51, it says that in arriving at the chargeable income of a resident individual, it didn't say a resident employee. I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
So it means that if an individual earns an employment income, if that same individual has a business income, or if that individual gets an investment income, in all these 3 instances, that individual is eligible to take an income tax relief. Is that correct? Okay, thank you very much. So Charles, let me come back to you, or let me even still stay with Joseph. Joseph, you mentioned marriage or responsibility relief.
Yes.
Can you discuss with my cherished viewers and listeners what exactly it is?
Okay, the law says marriage or marriage
or responsibility.
or responsibility relief. The marriage there is if the two people, man and a woman, are married.
I like the expression man and a woman
are married, and it's recognized under the law. They will be entitled to a relief.
Under which law? Under the laws of Ghana.
Under the laws of Ghana.
Okay, fine.
Under the laws of Ghana.
Okay.
They will be entitled, one person will be entitled to 1,200 per annum.
Okay.
Or if one person will not avail themselves to that, then 2 dependent children, at least 2 dependent children, and that one too is up to 1,002. So it's either you take the marriage responsibility relief or 2 dependent children, at least 2 dependent children relief.
Okay,
you
so
cannot enjoy the 2.
Okay, so what I've said is that the marriage or responsibility relief,
Yes.
they are not 2 per se in that. It is only one. It is this or that.
Yes.
It is either the marriage.
Yes.
That has to do with you and a spouse, a legal spouse, right?
Yes.
Or a responsibility on you in respect of 2
at least
dependent children, right? Yeah. Okay, I have some questions in there. Charles, you may have to help us.
Yeah.
If you say marriage, I know that in Ghana we have 3 streams. I mean, the Matrimonial Causes Act is clear on that. We have the Mohammedan Act that looks at the Mohammedan marriage, and then we have the ordinance, and then we have the customary. And that one you can hide in any village, and then you just see the family members, and the marriage is consumed. Now the point is, would you have to be in any of these 3 to qualify as a spouse, or mere cohabitation with the person for some time will qualify? Especially where you don't have 2 dependent children.
Okay. So marriage is not defined within the tax laws, but there are other acts within the Republic that define what marriage is. Okay. So to that extent, we may have to rely on the Marriage Act or the laws regulating marriage in Ghana. And just as we've rightly said, any of these 3, if you are in any of these 3, you do qualify to take that relief that is granted under the law. So you did mention cohabitation. Yes, if the Marriage Act recognizes cohabitation as marriage, then we have to rely on that, and also grant whatever relief that is.
Does the employee or the taxpayer have to show any documentation to that effect to prove to GRA that indeed I qualify?
Yes, you have to show some documentation. Okay. To the extent that with regards to the ordinance, it's quite easy. Once you
your marriage
your certificate is there. The customary marriage, you did mention that one has to hide somewhere. No, not really. It's also done in the public.
And there will be circumstantial evidence.
Yes.
Of course, people will know that you indeed live with such a person.
And in these days, the law has even given the avenue for registration of customary marriages. So that's an evidence over there. I mean, once a person applies to the GRA for such relief, there are ways of getting whatever evidence that, pictures taken,
that's fine.
And
that's
videos,
fine.
These are all
I think that's quite interesting. Joe, let me ask you, when you say a child, a dependent child, do you mean a biological child, a child that you have a consanguineal relationship with? Is it a biological child?
Well, it's not necessarily a biological child.
Okay.
It could be an adopted child, provided you can produce the certificate to prove it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying that there must be what the lawyers call the local parentis. That is, you have a parent-child relationship with the child, and the child must be a dependent child on you, right? In the case of the spouse, must the spouse necessarily be a dependent spouse?
Yes.
Or must necessarily be a dependent spouse?
It must be a dependent spouse.
Oh, okay. Okay. In the case of a child, what if the child is 25 years? We know that in Ghana, if you are 18 years, you are now an adult. Yeah. What if you are a child 25 years that depends on you? would you still qualify? Assuming there are two. Charles, can you address
Okay,
that?
so-
are you able to address that?
Okay.
Any of you? I mean, yes.
As you rightly said, again, who a child is defined under the Children's Act.
Okay, precisely.
So Section 1 of the Children's Act clearly defines who a child is. So if and it says that a child is a person who is under 18 years. So to that extent, that is the definition in GRA or the tax law will also have to rely on.
Okay, precisely. So what we are saying is that if I have a child, whether biological or not, dependent on me, but is more than 18 years, it won't work. Okay, you want to speak to that?
Yes. So the law says a child dependent on you. Right. If the person is over 18 years,
and the dependent is an adult depending on you, not a child.
it means that it's no longer a child.
Okay, I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
What if the child is 18 years, but is gainfully employed, but still lives with you?
18.
Well,
You see, you have clarified that if the person is 18 years above,
yes.
ceases to be a child.
Yes.
Now this person is 17 years. By some divine intervention, he has been employed, gainfully employed, but still depends on you.
Now, if we look at that issue carefully, since he's gainfully employed, he's also entitled to some reliefs under the law.
So that would take him out of that.
That vitiates any relief that the parents might be getting, depending on whether he is still under their command or under their.
I think that is interesting. No, but
to even add to that, the dependency is defined to be someone.
Charles, exactly what I was coming to ask you. When you say a dependent child, what is dependent? What does that mean?
So this is a person whose finances, his finances depends on you. His necessities of life, that is what the law has.
What are the necessities of life?
I mean, necessity, we talk about the basic thing of food, shelter. This is a person who depends on you for such things.
So food, shelter, and probably clothing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So financially, that person will have to make a recourse to you before the person can survive. So the question you asked earlier on, once the person is working, is earning an income, so financially it's not dependent on you.
Okay.
So we cannot get qualified.
So your assumption of that duty is not relevant because the person already has enough.
Sure.
And, I think that makes a lot of sense. I agree. So the issue now is, you did indicate that you need one dependent spouse and two dependent children. Or that's precisely.
Yeah.
So if I don't have a dependent spouse, but I have one dependent child, how do you address this?
The law says at least two dependent children. So one dependent child is less than the required number.
That's interesting. So what are you trying to promote? We are creating more job for the Republic.
Anybody who finds him or herself in that situation may want to look at other reliefs provided.
Okay, maybe we may probably look at the other when we get them. Look at it. So my last question on the marriage or responsibility, and it comes to you, Charles. Charles, must the two conditions, I want it to be reiterated, must the two conditions be met to enable one access this relief? The two conditions are in terms of the spouse, dependent spouse, and the dependent children. Must the two necessarily trigger?
No.
Okay.
As the law has put it, it's either or. So if you do not have two dependent children but you have a dependent spouse, you'll be entitled. Or the other is if you don't have a dependent spouse but you have two dependent children, you'll also be entitled.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you very much. Okay, so let me come back. Let me start with you, Charles, again. Disability relief. Disability relief. What is it? Is it only physical disability? Or you want to talk about emotional disability, mental disability, and all those ones? What exactly does the law say?
Yes, so the law gives the relief to a disabled person. Now, that definition again will have to come from the act that regulates that particular
challenge.
Yes. So what the law defines disability to be, that is exactly what the tax.
Can you share that with us, if it's okay?
Yeah,
Just okay, Joseph, you want to come?
The GRA actually is not closed with the power. It's not closed with the power to determine the disability of a person. So we rely on social welfare. If the person produces a certificate from social welfare that he is a disabled person, based on that, we can grant the relief.
I think that from what you have said, it's more of a fiscal disability. Is that correct?
Yeah, because the law says the person should be in unemployment, or the person should be doing business, or the person should be paying taxes. So if the disability is in such a way that the person can't even pay taxes, how does the person take advantage of it?
Okay, so emotional disability has no place here.
Yeah.
I think that, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so does it apply to all the three sources of income? This relief, disability relief, does it apply to all the three sources of income?
No, it doesn't.
Which ones are applicable?
Employment income,
Okay.
and business income.
Okay.
It doesn't apply to investment.
Why? Why would you take investment income out? Because they all come to me, it's my money.
Also,
And I'm paying taxes on them.
Okay, so
Okay.
You want to speak to that?
Investment income is regarded generally as a passive investment income tax is regarded generally as a tax paid for a passive income, meaning that you have an investment or a kind of, let's say, a facility or an investment or
You have some money.
Want of a better word.
You have some money lying down.
Yeah, lying down.
And you don't have a day-to-day contact with it.
Yes.
It's functioning to bring a return.
Yes. You know, business connotes
Yeah.
continuity, some form of continuity.
Yeah, but investment also.
Employment as well. But the involvement of the individual
Probably.
in the investment,
In the day-to-day functionality of the.
it's as if you have made the effort in the past.
Fiscal effort.
Yes,
fiscal
but
effort.
currently you don't need to be fiscally involved in pushing anything. So we
So
call
if-
it a passive income.
So if I have money lying down at the bank, which
Yeah.
will bring me, or maybe treasury bills or something, some
Yeah.
investment income,
Yeah.
which will bring me maybe a return.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if that's taxable per se.
Yeah.
It's not, but
Yeah.
just for the purpose of this
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah.
Or let me even reframe the question.
Yeah.
What if I am disabled, but I am into the business of investing?
Yeah.
Because Charles had earlier indicated that the line between investment income and business income is very thin.
Yes.
Somebody might be doing rent activity or rental activity,
Yeah.
but in one sense,
Yeah.
it's a business activity or business income flowing from that.
Yeah.
And in another sense, an investment income flowing from that.
Yeah.
Looking at that line,
Yeah.
if somebody is physically challenged
Yeah.
and is into the business of investing
Yes.
or any rent income,
Yes.
would you say the person would not qualify for this?
Okay. If the object of this investment is to rent as many buildings, structures as possible, it connotes continuity.
Oh, so then for
So it
business,
ceases to be
an investment
income, so it transcends or transits into a business income.
Charles, how much is it? You mentioned 25% of accessible income. Can you elaborate? Can you take us through what that means? Because all along we've been talking about chargeable income. We haven't really digressed the matter of unaccessible income. But Joe did mention that this one, it is clear 25% of your accessible income from business and employment,
Yeah.
excluding investment. So,
The disability.
Okay, so the accessible income is the income before any of these deductions are made. So, like you said, we mentioned chargeable income. That is an income that we have to take out certain deductions. The accessible income is without those deductions.
Okay. So it's like the gross.
It's the gross.
Okay. At this point, before you subject it to the reliefs and all those things to then lead you to chargeable income.
Correct.
So 25% of that.
25% of
That's huge.
That's very.
Does it have a ceiling? Does it have a ceiling or is just flat 25%?
It's a flat 25%.
Wow, I think it's interesting. Okay, so at this point, cherished viewers and listeners will be going off for a short commercial break. As I've already said, we have been discussing the issue of personal income tax relief. We'll be back to continue.
Madam.
Akwesi, not today. No time for jokes, eh? I need to get to GRA to pay my tax before the deadline.
Oh. Auntie Akos, relax. Listen, GRA has stopped accepting checks and cash payments at their offices. GRA has gone cashless.
Cashless?
Yes.
Hey, then how do I pay?
Give me your phone, I'll show you.
The Ghana Revenue Authority has gone cashless. Now you can pay your taxes and duties to GRA online at www.ghana.gov.gh, or for mobile money payments, dial *222# on all networks, or simply pay at the bank.
Oh, thank you, Akwesi. Oh, you've saved me.
GRA, our taxes, our future.
Cherished viewers and listeners, we are welcome back. Yes, we are taking it off from where we ended. Charles, child education relief, what is it?
Yes, so that's a relief that is given for a person who is sponsoring a child or the ward's education.
How many children are you talking about? Only one or four, or how many?
You are allowed up to 3 children or wards. Let me emphasize on that. Children or wards.
So not necessarily your biological children, right? Okay, and then you did mention that institution. What institutions are you talking about? Recognized, registered, what?
Yes, we are talking about recognized and registered educational institutions.
So registered with the Ministry of Education, is that what you mean?
So the regulator of education in Ghana, I believe, is the Ghana Education Service, which comes under the Ministry of Education.
Okay.
So once they have approved that these are recognized and registered institutions, then that is exactly where we also pick from.
So do these include the tertiary and professional institutions?
Yeah, so far as it is part of GES, once the regulatory body of education in Ghana has said that these are recognized and registered within Ghana, yes, of course. So
under the other reliefs, we dealt with the issue of a child's age. Does the age of the child matter under this relief?
It does. Yes and no, it does.
Okay. So how?
They said 3 dependent children,
yes,
or ward. Okay. So if your ward
is 21 and it's at
21 is still at the university and is dependent on you, and you are paying for his school fees, you are entitled to a relief of 600 per.
Are you saying that here the age of the child doesn't matter?
It does. It does.
Charles, do you agree with Joseph? Because in one breath you are saying that the age of the child it really matters. It shouldn't be more than 18.
Yeah.
But now you are saying that the age of the child doesn't really matter insofar as the child is there. Is that what you are saying? I wanted to clarify that.
So you realize that when it came to the child relief, there's a child or a ward. So in that space, I mean, the law has given that latitude for us not to go strictly according to the definition of a child as contained in the Children's Act.
Okay. So, for the purpose of clarity, you have mentioned that even if I have 6 children, all in recognized and registered institutions in the Republic of Ghana, only 3 will qualify.
Only 3.
Yeah.
600 cedis per year.
What if my wife is taking that relief on their behalf?
Then that, to the extent that it's the same children.
Yeah, the same children.
No, you are not. It's only one. It's for the children. So we are not looking at the parents taking that relief.
But the 2 of us are taking care of the children.
Yes. So once
we are sharing that responsibility.
Once your wife has taken that relief, then you cannot take the same relief on those same children. No.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. So Joseph, let me come back to you.
Yeah.
Old age relief.
Yes.
What if a person is not even sure of his age? Can you speak to old age relief?
Yeah, old age, the law says 60 and above.
60 years and above. Okay.
60 years and above.
Okay.
You'll be entitled to 1,500 per annum.
Okay.
Per year or accessible year.
So how does the GRA confirm your age? How do you, because we know that most of those people don't even have birth certificates. And how are you able to confirm the age?
Well, without your birth certificate, I don't think you can benefit from that relief. You need to support that with your birth certificate.
Is the relief applicable to all the 3 sources of income, Charles?
Yes, the relief is applicable to all the 3 sources of income. Now, let me go back on be able to determine the person's age. Yes, birth certificate, but there may be other documents. Mm-hmm. So, if the person happens to have an ID card, which of course an agency of government has given, or let's say
like
passport,
driver's license, passport, Ghana card.
Yes. So there should be one, even if without a certificate, then we should be able to rely on.
I think that's quite interesting. But my worry is the income. If I'm an aged person over 60 years and I have income coming from, let's say, business and investment. Over 60 years, I wouldn't want to take the risk of saying having income from employment because of obvious reasons. But if I have money coming in from investment and business, are you saying that I could take the relief on both or only business? What does the law say?
Only business, to the extent that you'll be assessed on an individual basis. If it's from investment we are looking at withholding tax, which may be which is a final tax in some cases. Okay, once it's a final tax, it's impossible to have any relief from that.
Okay, that's what.
So I think the catch word here is final withholding.
Yeah.
So if it is final withholding, then it doesn't. But if it is not, just as we are assessing the individual, we assess the business and also assess the investment together. At some point in time, we bring them together.
Then from the chargeable
income. Then the relief.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so Joseph, let me come back to you on aged dependent relative relief.
Yeah.
So it is not you; it is your relative who is aged, but dependent on you.
Yeah.
There's a relief to that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What does it tell us?
Yes. If an individual has an aged dependent relative,
must the relative be a relative that you or one has a blood relationship with?
The law says relative.
Okay.
Dependent relative of 60 years and above.
Okay.
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 The individual, once the relatives or a relative who is over 60 years is dependent on you, the law says you are entitled to a relief of 1,000 cedis per accessible year.
Okay. So let me go back
per
to that.
person.
Okay, that's fine. So per person, which means that if two people
Yes.
Like I said in the case of the last discussion.
Yes.
So if you yourself and your wife are having your relatives dependent on you,
Yeah.
or dependent on you,
Yeah.
you cannot take what your wife also takes, the relief.
That's
One person should take.
One person.
Okay, let me come back to our the same discussion. In our environment where we have extended family, you have people, claiming, ownership of certain people, especially the wealthy ones. They will try and just make sure that they are part of your family. They just put themselves out there. Would you say that it doesn't really matter with the person, insofar as the person depends on you, whether it's your relation or not? It doesn't really matter. Insofar as the person depends on you, you will qualify for that relief. Is that okay?
The law says a relative,
Yeah.
other than your spouse and children. So you could clearly see that it's talking about extended family.
Is your in-law your relative?
That's a good one. Yes. So again, some of these things we need to look at our customary practices and that. Who is your in-law? Who is your a relative? We are looking at your extended family. So.
Yeah.
Either from your mother's side,
So you're talking of father, mother,
side,
uncles, aunties, in-laws.
These are your relatives, as we all know.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what you are saying is that it doesn't really matter insofar as the person depends on you, and then there is some minimum confirmation that the person is related to you. That suffices. What confirmation does the GRA require to grant this relief? Is there any confirmation that the GRA required to grant this relief?
Well, the upon application, a minimum assessment will be made on the person that you bring as your relative. So, to the extent of the information that is provided, an assessment will be made on it, and if it is proven to be so, then the relief will be granted.
All too soon. Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you very much, Joseph. All too soon, we have come to the end of today's discussion on the personal income tax reliefs. We are not done yet. We have discussed a number of them. There are still a number of them undiscussed, and we'll be coming to them in our next episode. But for today, we have looked at the marriage and responsibility, disability relief, child education, old age, and agent dependent reliefs. There are others that have been mentioned which have not been discussed, and we'll be doing that in the next episode. This has been your favorite program, Time with the Tax World, and I am your host, Eric Andrews. Thank you.